the retzef, the continuity of our Parsha, that starts off with the 42 different places of traveling, how is it connected to the 42 places of the Levium? So, this question is addressed by the Kli Yakar, one of the great later Rishonim, and the Shla Kadosh, Shnei Luchot HaBrit, that brings this matter. Now, 42 cities of Levium. Okay? That's going to correspond to these 42 parking stops, places that we've stopped and parked, etc. Now, the number is not only the matter that corresponds one to the other, but rather there's something deep and essential, like some of you studied, regarding there's a name of God of 42 letters. Okay, Shem Hashem. Some of you know that this section may be a prelude to the section of the cities of the Levium. How do we understand that the population, the tribes of Israel, you're from Reuven, write out a check, please, now to the Levium. You're from Shimon, write out a check. You're from Yehuda, write out a check and give it to the Levium. What's going on here? The Levium, by definition, are almost hopeless materially. Their situation is terrible. They are those that need charity. They're the only ones that really require financial assistance of all the tribes. They don't have that experience of getting a nachala.
3.
We're number 3. They don't have a nachala, a regional area, not just to put their house there or their ranch there, but dunamim of avocados and apples and orchards. They don't have that. How will they survive? So they're going to be getting 42 cities, okay? Each of the 12 tribes will give willingly, hopefully, happily, hopefully. We're going to give you property. We're going to give you property. And on this property, you're going to live your lives. Now, these Leviim, when you see their names in the Torah, you see their names attached to Hayatom Ve'almana Asher B'kirbecha. When the Torah talks about charity, it puts together the Leviim with a Yatom. A Yatom is
Orphan.
Almana,
Widows.
widows. They're combined together in several places. Leviim, the Yatomim, and the Almanot. Because each of these groups are charity collectors. That's what they are. Now, God wants them to be scattered all over the country. So each of the 12 tribes, 42 divided by 12, each tribe will apportion at least 3 cities. Some will give 4 cities, correct? In order to get to 42. Now, that means the following. The Leviim themselves, they are similar to a situation of traveling. Okay, we hope he's okay. The Leviim are similar to a situation of traveling. Why? Just like we travel 42 different times, the Leviim, they're not grounded. By themselves, they're not grounded. Would you please move to the west side? Would you please move to the east side, the north and south? The Leviim are going to be sent out. They're going to be uprooted from where they are right now as we come into the land of Israel. And they're going to be in tenuah, in movement. Nachon, they're going to be settling in a particular city. The Shla Kadosh calls it tenuat hanishama, the movement of the soul. Okay? Just like the nation of Israel moved 42 times in Eretz Yisrael, so too the Leviim represent movement. The Leviim are not static. But you know what? They are representing us. The Leviim are in charge of education. The Leviim are the ones creating an educational system. Some of you saw that, how many cities of refuge are there?
8. Oh, 6, sorry.
6. Who is living in those cities? Who's living in those cities? Why are Leviim required, asked to, live in cities that the Rotzech B'Shogeg, the murderer who murdered accidentally, will be there? What does the Torah want educationally?
Torah education.
That the people that even violated murder accidentally, they shall now live in a city where I'm going to watch this guy. He gets up in the morning for shacharit. He gives charity. He teaches Torah. His midot are refined. We want those that didn't just by coincidence did they fall for murder accidentally. It happened to them because they deserve to be sent out to, 4-letter word with a gimel in the beginning. Galut. To be exiled, taken away from their steady job. They're going to be sent away. So, gentlemen, the Leviim being issued 42 cities are creating a spirit of life that they are not grounded. They're being sent out. So the word 42 certainly reflects movement, tenuah. Is it or not a positive part of our lives to be in movement? Do we want to be static? Do we want to be just staying in our place? No. We want to learn from the value of movement, that we too, a Jew who's static is not growing. A Jew who's in movement, who's rising, sometimes falling, but rising again. That is the positive value of movement. Okay? All of us experience this wonderful Shabbat. We went to a place where we didn't have our regular conditions. We were in movement, and we met up with our brothers. We met up with values that we would like to support you. We'd like to say to you that we are your brothers. We appreciate, admire the things that you're doing here, and so on and so forth. It's not a simple thing to move. A person often loses his sense of confidence, his sense of permanence, and so on and so forth. In order to be successful in movement, we need siyata dishmaya. We need divine assistance. We need faith in order to grow. Did Rabbi Rothman share with you the famous 42-word poetry, Ana B'choach? Okay. And you know this Ana B'choach, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, 6 words of poetry in each of the 7 lines. We realize that it's 42 words. And who authored this? Did you remember who the name of the author of Ana B'choach? Huh? Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakaneh. One of the great Tanaic scholars who dealt with the pnimiut, the inner secrets of our lives. He is the author of Ana B'choach. Can I ask any one of you here, where does it appear?
In Kabbalat Shabbat.
Where in Kabbalat Shabbat, sir?
Just
after
Just what?
After Lechadodi.
Is that true? After Lechadodi?
Depends which custom.
Oh, really? There's a different customs?
It's before Mali, basically. That's the...
Let's go to the regular Nusach Sfarad. I'm just joking. In the Nusach Sfarad and Ashkenaz, I don't think in Ashkenaz it appears in the Siddur.
yes, it does.
It does?
Okay.
Ashkenaz we do.
In any event, Ana B'choach appears right before Lecha Dodi. Question: why? Look at me now again. You finished Tfilat Shacharit. What appears in the Shulchan Aruch? The next chapter, that you go from the Beit Knesset to the Beit Midrash. And when you go in from the Beit Knesset to, you with me? from the Beit Knesset to the Beit Midrash after the prayer service, here in Machon Meir, on the wall, I think on the left-hand side, is a prayer, also by Rabbi Nechunya ben Akaneh. Okay? Haya mitpalel b'knisa u'b'yitzia shel Beit HaMidrash, and there's a special prayer. I shouldn't make mistakes, I shouldn't codify the wrong things, and so on and so forth. Some recite this prayer on the Bechoach in their Kriyat Shema of the bedtime. What do all these things have to do with Rabbi Nechunya ben Akaneh? Rabbi Nechunya ben Akaneh understands in a deep way that when we are transferring, when we are moving from one time to another time, when we are in a transitional period from one place to another place, we need the prayer Ana B'choach. Ana B'choach is a prayer to ask God for strength, to help us transmit ourselves in this transitional stage from Chutz La'aretz, the Galut of Bamidbar, 42 trips, into Eretz Yisrael. When we're transmitting ourselves, transforming ourselves from Yom Chol to Shabbat, right before Lecha Dodi, Ana B'choach. It's a prayer from one area to the other area. You finished your tefillah in the Beit Knesset. We now go to the Beit Midrash. Rabbi Nechunya ben Akaneh has a special prayer. So we can learn that he was one of the greatest Tanaic scholars of the Pnimiut of Torah, of the inner secrets of Torah. And he is relating us to God in this 42 name of God that appears in Masei Kiddushin. So too, if we asked, the connection between the Masaot and Arei Leviim, we can now understand that all our travelings, 42 travelings, is related to the point called motion, to be in motion, not to be static. That's what the Leviim represent. They're sent out to 42 different cities. So the Leviim, of all of the nation of Israel, they represent the ungrounded people. They represent the people that are in spiritual movement. They're like in a transitional stage all their life, the Leviim. Their purpose in Judaism is education, is providing help for the Kohanim, and so on and so forth. And therefore, this could be an understanding of a connection between the Masaot and the Leviim, the 42 number. Okay, is that clear? What I'm trying to understand? I heard that from Rav Kashtiel also, from the yeshiva in Eli.
Who's he?
One of our great rabbis in our generation. He's a great Rabbi, teacher from Merkaz Rav Kook, and so on and so forth. My question to you now is, all of you studied the source for the mitzvah to settle in the land of Israel. Please find me the name, the pasuk that you studied. I want no one else to scream it out. Please look for it yourself right now. Find the wording of the mitzvah for conquering the land and settling in the land of Israel. Where do you see it, please? In which chapter? In which pasuk? Can you find it?
Rob, I did some nonpartisan research. It is 42 words.
Gentlemen, can you find it? What, Steve? What do you see?
34-1.
34:1. No.
Lamed Gimel,
I get it.
33:50.
Mem Gimel.
33.
53.
Pasuk 53. Do you know what happened when we arrived on our camping site Sunday late afternoon? We were assigned. Every person gets a bama, like a little stage area, for their tents. And my daughter, who's in charge of the entire order, says, "Abba, we're in 53." I said, "That's the pasuk of the mitzvah of conquering the land of Israel."
There's a cool way to remember it because Lag BaOmer Yamagada.
Lamed Gimel. This is Nun Gimel. So my dear friend,
but B'midbar, Lamed Gimel is where it is.
yes, that's
So there's a kesher because Lag BaOmer is about our destruction, probably
Okay.
because we didn't do this mitzvah, and then this is where we find it.
okay. Gentlemen, v'horashtem, and you shall conquer it. Kol yoshvei haaretz.
No.
Is do you see the area? V'horashtem, you shall drive out all the settlers of the land. Does that mean only the 7 Canaanite nations? Whoever. Who says that? The Or HaChaim HaKadosh. Thank you. Or HaChaim HaKadosh, whose your type was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you remind me? He says the mitzvah of driving out the people, these nations in the land, are not restricted to the Canaanite nations. Which number? 7 Canaanite nations. Rather, it's inclusive of everyone else. Now, after we do that, what does the Torah warn us? Pasuk Nun Hey, chapter 55, verse 55. Vimlo torishu et yoshvei aretz mipnechem. You following? You have it? If you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land mipnechem in front of you, vaya. Look at me. Vehaya. In modern day Hebrew, haya means,
Was.
and biblical Hebrew, vehaya, and it will be very good. Vehaya, asher totiru mihem, whoever you leave over from them, meaning you do not conquer, drive them out. Lisikim be'einechem, they're going to be thorns in your eyes. V'litzninim betzidechem, and there'll be sharp thorns in your sides. V'tzareru etchem, and they will war you. About what? Al haaretz asher atem yoshvim ba. More than 500 years ago, the great Or HaChaim HaKadosh writes the following, almost like a prophecy of what's happening in our period of time. Did you learn the Or HaChaim HaKadosh with the great rabbis yesterday? So I want to study with you as well. If it's boring, raise your hand.
If it's what?
If it's boring to you, raise your hand.
I don't think we can do it.
He says the following, V'tzareru etchem, they're going to war you. He says, not only will the nations of the world hold on to a part of the land that you have yet to merit, but about the places that you've already merited, they will war you. They will tell you, get up out of here. Get out of our land. Have you ever heard of that claim made before? By any entity? Modern day times. The local Arabs are saying to the world, this is our land. We've been, and we're, so not only are they warring us, Mamashi, the Or HaChaim had prophecy, like, not only are they warring us about what those lands that we have yet to hold on to, but they're contending us about lands that we already have in our hands. Okay? The nation of Israel, through our army, already took charge of the lands of Judea and Samaria and the Gaza Strip. In which war?
67.
In the Six-Day War of 1967. For 2,000 years, we had not been living in Judea and Samaria. And the Turks and the Arabs as well didn't let us pray in many holy places that belonged to us. They didn't show their holiness. And here we are. The Or HaChaim understands these psukim that we're going to be contended. We're going to be contended by entities that are saying, get up out of here. Get up out of here. Get up out of Tel Aviv. Get up out of Yerushalayim. Get up out of Judea and Samaria. Akko. So here, Lod. So here you see the uniqueness of the words of the Torah, saying to us the following, and that if you don't drive them out, you're going to have a problem. And that was really a lesson that we tried to learn last Shabbat with our own eyes. It's the Arabs are not the problem. It's the educational process of ourselves. Where are we holding? What are we ready to do to incorporate the values of Torah to our lives? And evidently, it's a process. Hashem doesn't want it just like that. It's going to happen and we're all going to... No, it's a process. And we often have to carry the banner that we believe and talk about and educate ourselves that these lands are ours. If other entities want to live here, fine, we have no problem. We have to respect our sovereignty. We have to respect the values of the state of Israel. We don't have a problem. But right now, we're a nation that's coming out of the galut of 2,000 years. We were ripped apart at the climax of the galut in the Holocaust. A lot of Jews lost their faith, their values, their national confidence. And we have to understand it takes time to regain it back. A lot of our Israeli brothers and sisters, it's a hard time for some of them. We have to understand why. We have to understand by studying Orot, the lights of Rav Kook, by understanding where we're coming from. You just can't take the galut out of the Jewish people in one day or 1 week or 1 year or 10 years or one generation. It's truly a process. We have to be very careful how we conduct ourselves, how we treat our fellow Jews. Okay? Because if we don't treat our fellow Jews in the proper way, if we fail and fall in the mitzvah of Ahavat Yisrael because of our great confidence that we should be holding on to all this, then we have to do it in the right way. We have to be convincing. We have to be educational. We have to be setting an example. We have a lot of good things to do in Shah, but we have to convince and educate our people. Education is not a process of one day, one generation. It's going to take a time. But we have to win the confidence by being prime examples of what Torah values are about, both national values and singular values. So here we have a wonderful prophecy, as if that if we don't take care of this matter, we see the thorns, we feel the unfortunate opposition that we're facing up with. Okay, but this is it. Any questions or comments regarding this matter, gentlemen? Okay, let's now go to Nachal Mitzrayim. Can you please tell me what are, here in chapter 34, regarding Eretz Yisrael and its borders? Can you please tell me the name of the place of the northern border? And then tell me the place of the southern border.
The northern border is either Mount 4 or...
Please tell us the pasuk that you're reading from.
The Negev,
Seven.
right?
It's
Seven.
That's wrong.
southern border.
So Mikvul Tzafon min Yamagadol Titolachem Hor Ar. Where is, so if we draw a straight line, right? We were really on the coast. We were at the western border, correct? Bayako. We looked at Haifa. We were praying towards that area. We saw the Haifa port. We saw the way that the Mediterranean is. It's not straight. So if you draw a straight line from Yamagadol, tell me another name for Yamagadol, please. Yeah, you. Beautiful. Yamatichon. He said the Mediterranean. What, is it clear to all of us why Yamagadol is called Yamagadol? What's the answer?
Much larger than the Dead Sea.
It's not larger than many seas. So why is it called Gadol? Who learned it? Who heard it? We spoke about it briefly walking back.
It's in proportion of the circle.
Maybe. Anything and everything related to the land of Israel is Gadol. In value. Not in quantity, but in quality. It's holy. And therefore, God calls it Yam HaGadol.
But then why would Tiberius not sit on Yam Gadol as well? Are you saying that that's less holy?
We need resort and tourism. Tiberia. That's what Hashem wanted. Became a holy city. Gentlemen, it goes up to Hor Hahar. Hor Hahar. Does anyone know where that is? In which country?
Yes.
Of today?
Lebanon?
No.
It's in Eilat, right?
It's called. No, we're up north now, right now.
Up north.
Who knows? Who studied this? It's called Torei Omnas.
Iran?
It's up in Turkey. Torei Amnon, or the Fi Chazal Torei Amnos. The mountains of Amnon, which is in northeast Turkey, that is this one meaning of the northern border. Very good. What is the southern border stated here? No.
Negev.
It says Akrabim.
Close to it.
Wilderness of
But further, let's say north, let's say southwest, Nachal Mitzrayim. Nachal Mitzrayim in Pasuk 5. And that's what it says. That'll be the southwest border. V'totzot Yama. The question is, what is Nachal Mitzrayim? We have several meanings. What is the Egyptian river? Okay?
They mean the Nile.
One say that it's Vadi El Arish, far south from the Gaza Strip. But further south is the meaning called the Nile. I had some kids that were hiking in Sinai last week, and I was surprised to hear, and I wasn't aware of the geography, that part of the Sinai includes mountains very, very high up, just like the Hermon. There are mountains in Sinai that are more than 2,000 meters high. And my daughter said to me, Abba, we saw from one standpoint the Suez Canal, which is like far down. Do you know where the Suez Canal is?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. So,
In southern Israel.
very south in Israel. So, okay, so on the other side of the Suez Canal is like Egypt proper, okay, where we reached in the 73 war. Yeah. In any event, so Nachal Mitzrayim has several meanings. Is it Vadi El Arish, or is it further the area of the Nile, and so on and so forth? Very nice. Can you tell me the western border of Eretz Yisrael? The eastern border of Eretz Yisrael?
Dead Sea.
And what else?
Edom.
So we have the Yardena, the Jordan River, and the Jordan River goes down to the... But what goes into the Jordan River? Which pasuk?
10.
11, right? Yam,
Gadol.
Kineret, Kedma, right? The eastern side of the Kineret Sea. So we have the Jordan River, the Kineret, all the way down to Yamagadol. All of them are the eastern side of Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So these are the Eretz Yisrael borders. However, are these the borders promised to Avram Avinu? Where would we look for the borders of promised to Avram Avinu by God? No, open up to the proper chapter, please. Yes. It happens to be the covenant, the Brit Ben Abitarim. The Brit Ben Abitarim. What borders do we see there? The covenant of the pieces. Any other Tanachim for you to look at so others can see it as well? Who found it? Which chapter is the covenant of the pieces?
15.
Chapter 15, Tetvav. Okay, very good. And now let's look for it in chapter 15. Okay, I found it in Pasuk, right? So chapter 15, let's see Pasuk Yudchet.
17,
Yes.
18.
Let's start reading Yudchet. Okay? Does everyone put their finger on the place in verse 18?
Yes.
Can or no?
No. Yes. Bayom?
Right, Bayomahu. Do you see it? Okay.
Bayom.
Get a Tanakh if you can. See Bereshit. I know you're tired. You worked all night. Okay, I'm reading. Follow me, please. Bayomahu. Help me out the English translation on that.
On that day,
I'm going. Karat Hashem. Hashem established. Et Avram. Et here means with Avram. Brit.
a covenant.
A divine pact that starts from God. That's what a Brit is. Lamor saying, Lizaracha, to your seed, Natati. Look at me.
I have given.
I will give?
I
Okay.
gave
Wow.
apostles
How can God give if they're not born yet?
because he's God.
Because to his point of
It's
view,
called-
it's
it's called Hashem.
equidistant in time.
God is above time. God was, God is, God will be. Time is not an entity by God. He's metaphysical. And therefore, God has already established something that has yet to happen in the future. The children of Israel have yet to be born. Let's keep on reading. Lizaracha, to your seed natati, et haaretz hazot. Put 2 dots there. Haaretz hazot. Okay? It's okay. We wanted to conserve a living.
No, it's your fault.
Okay, I'm reading. Minahar Mitzrayim, from the Egyptian river, ad Yamagadol, until the great river called Nehar Prat. In English, Prat? Euphrates. So we're talking about the same borders here?
No.
Which difference exists?
He is more bigger.
Northeastern border. What about the southern border?
They,
It says the same words. Nehar Mitzrayim.
River.
The southern border. It says Nehar Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
So that's stated here as well. Let's keep on reading. Pasuk Yutet, Kaf and Kafal, 19, 20, and 21. I'm counting. You count as I'm reading. These entities. Eta Keni, Veta Knizi, Veta Kadmoni, Veta Chiti, Veta Prizi, Veta Refaim, Veta Mori, Veta Kanani, Veta Girgashi, Veta Yevusi. Sum total.
10.
Uh-oh. Why 10 nations? Don't we know that they're called the what?
The 7 nations.
7 Canaanite nations. So we have to understand why are added. 3 Canaanite nations are added.
The eastern side of the Jordan.
They're all Canaanites. All these are Canaanites. They're all different tribes of the Canaanite entities.
Because the Rephaim are giants.
What?
The eastern side of Jordan.
So, very good. There are 3 entities that will happen in the final redemption, that their lands shall be assumed by the Jewish people. Until then, the prohibitions that appear in Moshe's speech in the beginning of Dvarim were not allowed to take their lands, and they are Ammon, Moab,
And Edom.
Edom. Again, in the first and second Commonwealth, until the final redemption doesn't happen, the speech of Moshe Rabbeinu, which we'll get to next week, God willing, we're not allowed to take the lands of Ammon, Moab, and Edom. Who remembers why?
Our sibling cousins, whatever.
Their family. Mishpacha. Ammon and Moab come from Lot. Edom.
Why then?
Right now, he's in the stage of development. It's yet before his name is there. So here, in the final redemption, we will not only live in these 7 lands, we'll live in 3 lands which are across the Jordan going south. Ammon, Moab, and Edom going south.
Today that's Jordan and...
It's all Jordan of today. Okay? It's all Jordan of today. So here we understand the importance of the borders that we read about briefly. There's a lot to be studied. There's a lot to understand about this matter. What I want to do now is go to Perek Lamed Hey, chapter 55. You have the plan. Let's go back to our Parsha, Lamed Hey, chapter 35. I'm sorry. Vayidaber, do you have it? We're back in Bamidbar Masei. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe be'arvot Moav al Yarden Yerecho Lemor. Question. What do I need al Yarden Yerecho? We know that Arvot Moav is opposite the Jordan river city of Yericho. Question 1. Question 2. Tzav et bnei Yisrael. V'natnu lalviim. Minachalat achuzatam. Arim l'shavet. Umigrashet le'arim svivoteim. Titnu lalviim. Is this anything unique with this language? Tzav et bnei Yisrael. We don't see the language Tzav et bnei Yisrael happening often. It's very rare. Did anyone remember? Can bring a correlation to the korbanot. Which korbanot? Right, the korban tamid. Okay, what else? What else? What's the name of that oil that we pour in? We pour into the menorah. Shemen zayit zach. There too we see the language Moshe Tzav et bnei Yisrael in the imperative, right? Command bnei Yisrael. So we see the language Tzav et bnei Yisrael in 3 sections of the Torah. Number 1, regarding the Korban Tamid. Number 2, even earlier, regarding Shemen Zayit Zach, that pure olive oil. Okay? And now we hear, what is the subject here of chapter 35? Nachalat, the inheritances of the land of Israel, what you have to give to the Levi'im. Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in the Sifri is a Midrashic halacha book. There are Midrash Agada books, and there are Midrash halacha books. Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in the Sifri explains, quote, Ein tzav ela chisaron kis. What do you have in your kiss?
Money.
Money. I know I get your attention.
What, because I'm a Jew?
Ein tzav ela chisaron kis. When God uses the word tzav, He's talking about that you're going to have to take money out of your pocket. You're going to have a deficiency in money. You're going to have to use money in order to do the mitzvah. How would we use for the Korban Tamid? We give money for the Korban Tamid? Half shekel. If you want to volunteer to give Shemen Zayit Zach for the menorah, it comes out of your pocket. What is the subject here in chapter 35? Who will be issuing cities to the Leviim? All the 12 tribes. Okay, all the 12 tribes. Okay, cough it up. Take it out of your pocket. You're going to have to spend money. Okay, just in Judaism, we understand that when we're doing mitzvot, spending money is not what the Western world thinks. Spending money is an investment in godliness. Spending money is we're gaining. We have to get that out of our head. No, it's my money. What do you mean it's your money? God gave it to you. What did He give it to you for? So you become a channel. You'll be able to delegate these monies to help others, to do mitzvot, and so on and so forth. So, when Rashbi says in the Sifri, Ein tzav ela chisaron kis, that means you got to give it especially from you, from your pocket, from your assets that you have. And that's a very important matter, that all the tribes of Israel are going to be supporting the Leviim. It's going to come from your pocket, from the monies that you have, from the lands that you have. The Shvatim are going to give. The Shvatim also received a lot of spoil. Okay, in the last wars we received a lot of movable objects like animals and persons. Okay, the Leviim didn't receive. They got a little tax to receive, but they didn't get like the spoils of everyone. And therefore, the Leviim, they don't have monetary assets. Okay? So we know that the monetary matters of the tribe of the Levium are different than all the tribes. They don't have a nachala, okay? And therefore we, the nation of Israel, we have to look for our brothers. We have to treat them. We have to give for them. And in this case, give cities. Okay, we're going to have to give a place from our cities, the lands that we have in our tribal cities, on behalf of the Leviim. Questions or comments regarding this? Okay, go to the end of this section. How many cities are described here to give to the Leviim? Number 1?
6.
6. What are they called? Sheish, Arei, Miklat. Can you put your finger on the place? In this chapter, which pasuk?
Shesh.
Sheish. Verse 6 of chapter 35. V'ei te'arim asher titnu lalviim. 8. Sheish, Arei, Hamiklat. Asher titnu lanushama rotzeach. Va'aleihem, in addition to them, on them literally, titnu, you're going to issue how many? Arba'im u'shtayim ir. When we learn a tractate, a Mishnah and Gemara that refers to these cities, which tractate do we learn? Does anyone know? No. What does it have to do with the ketubah? It's not a wedding contract. Which Masechet deals with the laws of a murderer b'shogeg? Which it's Masechet called Makot. Makot. Singular? Right. Obviously, there in that Masechet, it deals with the punishment issued to someone that violates a regular Torah prohibition. How many Makot can be issued if we evaluate your body strength?
Up to 40.
39.
9.
The Torah says, Arba'im chaser echad. 40 less 1 is 39. That's how it appears in the book of Devarim. Okay? So, my question to all of you is this. 6 cities for the Levium. 42 additional ones to the 6. Are there any difference? Is there any difference between the laws, between 6 cities of refuge and 42? Can a murderer b'shogeg run to one of the 42 cities? Yes or no?
No.
Yes, he can.
But he doesn't get protection, does he?
Slowly. The 6 cities, it's like it's a Merkaz Klita. It's like an absorption center. Who does it absorb? Who does it accept? A murderer b'shogeg. A murderer by accidental. Or even a mezid. Okay? If the deceased brother or family, they don't have to be Moroccan to be angry, do they? They can be very, very angry. And what might they do?
Run after them more.
And kill them. What's that called in the Torah? Goel Adam, the redeemer of blood. Have you seen that? Come across that term? Goel Adam. And therefore, the 6 cities of refuge and the 42, they absorb anyone that killed until their court case happens. Okay? Until their court case happens, and then they can be issued to be living in the 6 cities. However, what is the difference halachically between the 6 and the 42? The 6 can absorb you only if you intend to go into the city of refuge. But if you just had no intention, it doesn't absorb you. You just happened to come on, you got on the wrong bus, and you got there, you didn't intend to get to that city, then we ask you to leave, please. And then you're free bait. For who? For the Goel Hadam. Whereas the 42 cities, okay, I'm sorry, the opposite. The 6 cities absorb you whether you meant to go into there or you didn't mean to go into there. The 42 only absorb you if that's where you meant to go in as a Rotzeach b'shogeg. As a Rotzeach b'shogeg. Now remember, who's living in those cities, we said?
Mazid as well, though.
What?
Mazid as well.
Until the court case happens.
But also the 42 is fine?
Yes.
Okay.
until the court case happens, and then we decide what has to be. So all the 42 plus the 6, they all absorb the murderers. The murderers. Do we know which 6 cities there are? Some of you saw. I saw them. I saw one of them yesterday, and some of you traveled in another. Are the names given to us here, gentlemen? Yes or no? No. Where will they appear?
In Yeshua.
And also Chumash Devarim. This section appears in Devarim.
Hebron is one of them.
Hebron is the southwestern Ir Miklat.
We also got Golan.
Golan, very good. The Golan will be the north what?
Northwest. No,
Northeastern city of refuge. Yesterday, when we were traveling from the northern Golan, going south, I saw a gigantic mountain range to the west. To the west. Which mountain range? I'm traveling in the Golan, and I see a gigantic mountain range. You also saw it a few weeks ago. Which mountain range is it?
Jordan? With Jordan?
It happens to be a city of refuge. Kedesh. The city of Kedesh in the Naphtali Mountains. Naphtali Mountains today is which city? Up north in the finger of the Galilee?
Oh, Lebanon.
No, our city. Kiryat Shmona. Kiryat Shmona. So, Kedesh in Naphtali, parallel to the Golan, are the northern cities of refuge. One on the east side, one on the west side. What about
That's the west one? That's the northwest one?
That's northwest, Kedesh and Naphtali, as opposed to the other side of the Jordan River, the other side of the Dan River.
It's called Golan? The city's called Golan?
Golan as part of a greater area called, with the letter Bet? Bashan. Very good. You guys are sharp. Learning Eretz Yisrael matters. Fantastic. Now, what point did I want to bring? What point did I want to bring now?
One more.
So what city is in the center?
Yerushalayim.
The center for an Ir Miklat stated in the book of Zvarim. Huh? On the west side, it's Shechem. Okay? And the east side is in the Giladi Mountains, in the Gilad. Just Bechla, we should ask the following question. How many cities are going to be on the east side?
3.
How many cities of refuge on the west side?
3.
How many tribes living on the west side?
9.5.
9.5. How many living on the east side?
2.5.
What's your mathematical question that you have, David Bradley?
Well,
Only David Bradley. Give him the right of expression, please.
it doesn't seem to be balanced in per population, but it does.
1 second. Spit out the question. Let's appreciate the question. Continue. Did you understand the question he just raised beautifully? David Bradley, today's what day of Tammuz? 28th of Tammuz, 5782, directed his mind to the question in Gemara, Masechet Makot. You deserve a handshake at least. Do you understand his question? There are 2.5 tribes living on the east side of the Jordan. Yet they have how many cities of refuge?
3.
Just as many.
It's so disproportionate, isn't it? On the other side, 9.5 and have 3. The Gemara answers.
Why is it disproportionate?
Because you have the same amount for a much greater population.
It would make sense to have 3 layered in, and 3 on the other side. So okay, you have 1 for 3.
But the population is so small in number. On the east side, maybe make 1 or 2. By the way, the Torah says in the book of Devarim, V'shilashta. You're going to divide them according to kilometrage. In other words, from the most northern border to the northern city of refuge is the same distance from that one to the central one, and the central one to the southern one. And from the southern to the border, it'll be equidistant between each one. so that if you killed B'shogeg, you have an equal chance to run to one of the other. The Talmud says, and this is regarding Tisha B'Av, the Talmud says, you know why there are 3 cities of refuge for 2.5 tribes?
You're more likely to kill.
There are more murderers. There are a lot of murderers. Where? On the east side. Who has a follow-up question?
Just a comment.
Oh,
on that.
so-
Unless-
What?
Family-
Just
this is
why?
just-
Why is that?
You have a follow-up question, Ariel?
It's not follow up, but a question for.
Okay.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to hear you.
So the family whose member got killed, and the person's running away, they are allowed to kill him. If they catch up to him, they can kill him.
If they're, that's right, he's free blood. You like
It's
that?
kind of like a bounty.
That's right. No. Well, who has a follow-up
I
question?
don't have a question. I have
If there's so many murderers on the east side, what kind of murderers are they?
Why do they only have 3 in that case?
What? If they're murderers,
Unintentional.
your miklat is for unintentional murder. But we're talking about murderers that want to kill intentionally.
Oh.
So what are you setting up 3 array miklat for intentional murders? These cities are for accidental murderers. So
But
Ramban,
we explain ourselves that the 6 city of refuge does not has to be the person does not has to be has intention of tshuva.
right? Until we don't have a court case, he can run and be
Right.
in
So-
defensive property till he gets
The
there.
safe zone.
But the safe zone. But the idea is, why set up 3 for intentional murders? I mean, they should be done with. This is exactly the point. Our first temple was destroyed. The Jewish people were exiled because of?
Baseless hatred.
No, that was the second temple.
First one, because of
Shvichut damim, in addition to Gilui Arayot and Avodah Zarah. But the Shvichut damim, the murder that was going on, was on the east side. And they were camouflaging themselves. As if they killed unintentionally. They were camouflaging, that's what the Ramban says. They were using deception, hiding. Okay, and therefore the east side has equally 3 cities of refuge, just like the west side. Okay, any other questions or points?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When the
By the way, just to make a point to you, Ariel, according to the Gemara in Sanhedrin, according to most of the Rishonim, it's not that the Goel Adam has permission to kill the murderer, but there's a mitzvah for the Goel Adam to kill the murderer. Sanhedrin Lamed Hey Amud Bet. Sanhedrin Lamed Hey 35, side 2. But of course, if he knows, it's especially a mitzvah if he knows that his relative was killed intentionally. That's what the Rov Rishonim say. Who had a question or point? Yes, I'm sorry, Renan.
also about the Levine, when the 2 kingdoms split, like the two tribes and 10 tribes.
Right, by the way, the 2.5 tribes were the first ones to be exiled.
Yeah.
On the eastern side of is that the point you want to make?
No. I mean, like, we lost most of the cities of the Levim and most of the Miklats.
Yes.
Right. So what's happened there?
Already we lost the ability to use capital law. When the Galut started happening, we lost the ability, I think, to...
No, but it wasn't Galut, was the split.
Right, so we still had capital, we still had Sanhedrin during Rehavam's time, we still had. But we had a lot of unfortunate murder. So we had 2 kingdoms, one in Judea, one in the Shomron.
Judea has only 1.
But Beseder.
Why? Shem and Hebron are-
Shechem is already Ephraim.
But
Shechem is Ephraim. What do you want to say?
the Levim didn't migrate to the...
No. I don't think they migrated to other places, to my knowledge. Okay, we're going to stop here and take a break before the Shur, God willing, and Rabbi Gon.